5, proposed public art, public hearing and discussion regarding proposed public art. Supervisor Miller, you put this item on the agenda?
Yes, I did, Madam Chair. This is an item that apparently there were discussion regarding this proposed public art. I have received more than 50 emails objecting to this. I also got a petition with more than 100 signatures in opposition to this piece of public art. I also received 10 neighborhood signatures just recently, so it's about 160 objections. We got 2 letters in support of this piece of public art. The concern I have is the neighbors, from what I understand, have not been included in the process. The majority of them, somehow they were left out of this process, and I believe there are folks here today who wish to speak to this so that the rest of the board can hear their objections. With this project move forward, I'd like to hear from them before I make a motion. That's thank you.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question?
Certainly.
What process was followed?
Madam Chair and Supervisor Elias and other members of the board, it's the standard public art process that was followed. And I think we looked at all of this, and the complicating factor here is that this is a federally funded project with a bike path, and so we followed this federal process, which is very explicit and long-term. And so we can move the artwork, and so one of the concepts is the north part of this project is in Supervisor Miller's district. The south part of this project is in, I believe, Supervisor Carroll's district. But the school has made an indication that they would like the artwork if it doesn't go anywhere else. This is the high school. It's outside the scope of the project. So what we've got to do is go back to the feds and say, can we in fact move it? And, and anywhere we now want to move it, we probably got to go back and get at least some approval. If it's in the scope of the project, from one end to the other, it's fairly easy to move. If you move it beyond the scope of the project, we've got to go ask permission, and I think it's fine, we can go do that. But that's kind of where we are. And so,
Madam Chair?
Supervisor.
Mr. Huckleberry, someone gave me this picture, and it shows that it's not yet installed. This was taken April 1st, so we have a base that it hasn't been installed yet, has it?
No.
Okay.
Madam Chair, no, it is not. And there's really not any base that's been constructed yet. The materials are there. So we can pick it up and move it. And, one of the things we could do is, again, if we've got a party who would like the art because it was commissioned by some of the students at the high school and they participated in
the design.
we can move it. I think the only complicating factor is we've got to go back to the feds and get them to say, okay, and wherever we place this now on the school property, we then have to make sure that we go through the environmental clearance process. And so, if it's a disturbed area, it could very well be done fairly easily, but there's no guarantees.
Madam Chair, Mr. Huckleberry, what would you, have you got any idea of the estimate of the additional cost to move this piece of art or to place it in a different spot?
Yeah, Madam Chair and Supervisor Miller, the total cost of the art piece constructed, I think, was about $12,000. It should not be that much to move it. But it's just this process. It's the time issue. We got to go back, and these follow a very strict federal aid process, and sometimes that process takes months. And so I think we're fine if that's the consensus. We'll move it. We'll go ask the school if they would like it. If they show us where we could place it, we'll look at and hopefully clear it, because it's probably in a parking lot or a driveway where it's already been disturbed. So there probably aren't any environmental or archaeological or cultural factors to consider. And hopefully then we can convince the Federal Highway Administration that they could easily allow the artwork to be moved.
Quick question, and then I see Supervisor Miller has another one. If we were to take the path where we ask that we move it, is that going to delay the completion of the roadway project in any way?
Madam Chairs and members of the board, I think the project's done, except for the artwork.
simply the artwork, so it's not going to have any impact on the project itself. Okay, we have a number, Supervisor Miller, I know you had another question. I've got some speakers. Did you wish to entertain, this isn't a hearing per se. Did you wish to hear from the speakers at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Jordan Walker. And again, 3 minutes, abide by the rules of civility.
Thank you for having me up today. It sounds like we found a pretty equitable solution moving. I do want to address the board real quick just to show how we got to this point and where our frustrations are as residents. So I'm going to put the piece of art up here so that everyone can see what we're talking about and why we feel this is inappropriate for our neighborhood.
And remind me again, where is your neighborhood?
Sorry, my name is Jordan Walker. I'm a resident on Vallarta Drive in District 1. And again, as you mentioned, this is about half mile north of the District 4 boundary. So I live 1 street north of where this is going to be installed. And all right, I'm going to read this quick because I prepared it and it covers all the things I want to do and I won't want to forget anything. So, good morning, Board of Supervisors. Again, my name is Jordan Walker. I'm a Pima County resident and homeowner. I'm here today to respectfully ask that you stop the installation of the statue that's proposed to be permanently placed at the intersection of Snyder and Bose Roads. Bose is a dead-end road that serves as the entrance to our neighborhood. This is a residential area that sits at the base of the National Forest. I'm here today also being a voice for my neighbors who have other responsibilities and could not speak. I have a petition with over 100 signatures, it's 118 currently, that we gathered in under 48 hours, as well as this stack of 50 letters opposing the statute. To my knowledge, I only have 1 letter supporting this, and the person that has come forward does not even live in the immediate area. I doubt I need to explain why this statue is inappropriate to be placed at this location where only detract from our natural surroundings, but I will let the community's words speak for themselves. In this stack of letters opposing the statue, you'll find words like out of place, abrasive, obnoxious, inappropriate, unsightly, distracting, and eyesore. Despite the claims of the Department of Transportation, area residents were given little notification in the form of only 1 flyer sent out over 2 years ago and 0 input to this statue. The design of the statue was approved by a committee of 4 people, only 1 of whom is a community member. How we decorate our residential neighborhoods should be left to the residents and the homeowners associations, not the DOT. We believe we were successful in having the installation to a new, more appropriate place, but on March 21st, DOT Director Priscilla Cornelio sent a memorandum to Administrator Chuck Huckleberry urging the installation to proceed despite a significant, if not total, public opposition. Unfortunately, there are key details in this letter that are inaccurate and false and need to be addressed. First, she claims that the base has been installed. That's not true, but we've covered that. And then secondly, she claims, and this is a quote, that the county undertook an extensive public involvement program for the artwork. This is not true. They clearly did not. This is why we are faced with this unfortunate situation. It's insulting to imply that we were involved. There was no public meetings to discuss the art component. A committee of 4 people does not equate to extensive community involvement. It's shocking that our director could believe this. The statue is not representative of the area, is not representative of the school, and is not complimentary of the community. Pro site sits in District 1, but it's only a half mile from District 4, and residents from both districts have come forward to oppose it. Please listen to a nearly unanimous voice of your constituents and find another site for this statue. And we'd also appreciate if the DOT could focus on repairing our roads and not decorate my neighborhood. Thank you.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
So in the end, your objections to this art is the aesthetics?
Yes, sir.
You just think it's ugly?
Yes, sir, but that's just my opinion. But
I
mostly
understand.
I don't think it's
understand.
appropriate.
I'm just asking.
If you see the artwork that's been placed along the bike paths on Sunrise between Colbert and Craycroft, I find those very attractive. Would love to have them in my own yard.
So you support public art?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your
Thank
comment.
Spending your time here. You're doing something better.
All right, Heather Smith.
I'm going to pass. I think everything's been covered. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Rowe.
Yes, sir.
Again, my name is Robert Rowe. I live about 2 blocks up from where this is supposed to go. Just look at the picture. You can get that photo up enough. Does this screen tag me or what? Okay, let's just be honest here. This is like half a block from the high school, which has Friday night football games all. Let's be obvious here. It's going to get tagged. Okay, it's a screen shot. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't think anybody here wants to volunteer and go clean this thing every Friday night, or Saturday morning, I should say. Let's be realistic here. This is not the kind of artwork that we want there. I like art in the community, but this is just bad news. Okay?
So if, Mr. Huckleberry made a suggestion about an option of maybe moving this onto the school site, given that the students participated in all of this, that's not really going to take care of the issues that you're concerned with.
Well, if you put this somewhere in the school, not like right there where kids are going to the football games and things like that. If it's more of an enclosed area and they can have some school spirit around it, that's cool. I'm all for that.
Okay.
But the situation is sitting out where the public can reach it, probably not a good idea.
They probably put my face on it.
Isn't that you right there? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
50 pounds ago.
Would that be an improvement, Supervisor Lenz?
Yeah.
Cesar Melendez?
Madam Chair, good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of the board. I happen to live at the residence that is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Bowes and Snyder. So I live 50 feet away from the place where this artwork is supposed to be located. And I would like to convey to you that, as well as all the people that have submitted emails and petitions online, I strongly oppose the placement of this piece of art at the presently proposed location. And you have heard some of the discussions before. I would like to convey to you that whether it's at a personal level, at the county level, when we procure art, we should be procuring art that actually beautifies the neighborhood, complies with the surroundings where the artwork is installed, and is accepted by all the neighbors. Obviously, we're falling short on all of those three categories in this particular aspect. In addition to that, unfortunately, something happened with the process because, again, no neighbor input was solicited, no feedback was provided by us, and that's why we find ourselves in the situation we find ourselves today. We believe that there's options that can be pursued to place this piece of art in a different place. To the question that Supervisor Rodriguez was asking, I believe that if we put this in the school, actually belongs to the students, so they would be perhaps more inclined to take care of it and look after it instead of vandalizing it. And there are some other options that can be pursued. So we wanted to convey those concerns, perspectives to the members of the board. We really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come this morning, adding this topic to the agenda. So you can hopefully use that information, that feedback that we're providing you, in order to come up with an alternative approach to completing this project. Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair?
Supervisor?
If I could just comment on what you said, I understand your concerns and you're right that if it's on the property of the school, likely they'll be more willing to protect it. But they were involved in creating it too, and so I think that gives them some buy-in as well. But, gosh, it's really hard to understand everybody's taste and what they find approvable and what they find disgusting or what they find obscene or what they find provocative. So, those are good questions to ask and recognize that it's something that we all struggle with when it comes down to art, and having a good understanding of how to make people happy isn't always the best way to come up with the best art, And so it's a difficult situation, but I'm glad you spent your time here and let us know what you thought about it, because it's important to hear from you.
All right, Charles Funk, and I would remind everybody about, is it Sonoran Sunrise or Sonoran Sunset, the sculpture at the library that caused all the controversy?
Right, remember that?
Was that Sunset or Sunrise?
It's over in District 2 now.
Okay.
It actually exists still, and it's over in District 2, over by Silver Lake, by the Challenger Little League field, I think is the last place that it finally ended up.
Okay.
But yeah, so those questions remain still. I don't know, I think statues of me would be preferable to people, but
Yes.
I think others.
We all have our own definition of that.
I knew you would comment on that, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
or-
Yeah, I was throwing a softball.
Mr. Funk, I'm sorry, proceed.
Not a problem. I'm Charles Funk. I live at 4940 North Castle Ridge Road. And the reason that I'm here today is that Castle Ridge and my neighbor Cesar's house are immediately adjoining the site of this proposed artwork. I had submitted a petition to the board, which I believe the secretary says has been included. And rather than read it, I'm just going to hit the highlights because I think you can all see it. All of the residents of Castle Ridge Road are violently opposed to having this there. It doesn't fit. And moreover, it's a piece of artwork that none of us asked for. And yet, in the spirit of art, it's been assigned there. We've already covered the fact that I believe, and I think the neighbors do, that the process that was used to design and pick a location, many of us were not involved with for whatever reason. I think that's a problem. The school was referenced as being involved, yet I heard one of the other members here talk about 4 individuals in a school of 1,100. I kind of have a problem with that too. And I also heard in the discussion here among the supervisors of options, all of which that says that this statute has to go somewhere. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that that's because we spent federal money as part of a project for that.
Correct.
All right?
Actually not, it's required by the federal project.
Yeah, the federal.
Expenditure on public art is
Yeah,
required.
That's required that you spend money on public art.
That's
Okay,
right.
because you walk right down the path. It's required that you have to have the artwork. I like art. And as you point out, it's hard to decide. But all that does is bring us back to the point that says, how do we vet these so that the citizenry don't have to sue to have it removed if you put it in? It's just more money wasted. So I'm done. So thank you very much for listening, but please take immediate action. And I say that because I understand that the Department of Transportation had done us a favor and got this on the agenda because they were going to go ahead. Let's not do that so we have to pay more money to take it out.
Yeah, I actually think Supervisor Miller is the one who placed it on the agenda.
Well, then my thanks to her and her staff. They've been very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our speakers. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend that this statute be moved over to the school, or we explore that possibility of moving this over to
Relocating
the
this.
school, relocating it. Obviously, the neighbors most impacted are here today because it will affect their neighborhood, and quite frankly, I don't think many of us would like a bright yellow piece of art right on the corner to our homes. And as you said, Supervisor Elias, art is in the eye of the beholder. So I recommend that we do that to make sure we keep peace in the neighborhood and we make everyone happy.
Yeah, I'll second that motion, but Madam Chair, I would ask Mr. Huckleberry, if there comes a situation where the feds do not allow us to move that, then I'd like to have that brought back to the Board of Supervisors so we can reconsider this in a different manner.
I'll accept that amendment.
Supervisor.
Madam Chair, Mr. Huckleberry, if we move the public art like we asked, do we still get the credit that we needed in order to do the project?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah, I think that's what
Okay.
Supervisor
That's why.
Elias was asking. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second, and I would only comment, getting us back, and I hate to go back there because it was rather energized discussion on item 18, particularly if they're related to Santa Cruz, that, you know, the concern the neighbors have here, it was a process concern. I still think on the Santa Cruz one, I think there was one individual who was not willing to compromise, but I think some of the neighbors most affected were on that project and we've approved it. I don't want to go back there, but I'm saying we're looking at a similar situation here. I'm fully going to support the motion, but again, you know, sometimes we have problems with process, and I think this is just another instance of that. So with that, I'll call the question. Are there any objections? Hearing none, motion carries.